and expression to every citizen of our country, which is guaranteed under Article 19 of our Constitution, it is not absolute in its nature. Under Article 19(2) itself, it is provided that restrictions could be imposed. So if you're defaming somebody, then of course restrictions could be imposed. Now, what the Supreme Court has said that at one point in time you are making money out of your talks, and at the same time you're mocking somebody over their whatever deformities or whatever issues that they may have. So you cannot have a free ride in that sense, because though you may have freedom of speech, the other person has right to live with dignity. And when social media influencers make mockery out of it, certainly it sends out a wrong signal. And as I said earlier, it's not a walk in the park where you just under the garb of free speech start misusing your freedom of speech and expression, and under the garb of it start infringing the rights of the others.
Okay, I'm not for a moment sort of justifying what they've said, which I find to be entirely crude or crass, but let me offer a somewhat contrarian perspective and take that across to a part. The court's push for guidelines suggests regulation. Some suggest beyond the existing Information Technology Act. Could this lead to a framework that respects Article 19(2)'s limits, which restricts speech only for the sovereignty and integrity of India? Or might it actually enable broader censorship? In other words, are we headed to potentially broader censorship? Because as I understand it, by and large, what we prevent from being said is to ensure the sovereignty and integrity of India. Does any of this challenge that?
Okay, so firstly, Vishnu, just going back to your previous question as to whether there is a right which is also present when a person exercises commercial speech, the Supreme Court has held in a case called Tata Press versus MTNL that commercial speech also enjoys the freedom of speech and protection. And the restrictions which are emerging under Article 19(2), which are the grounds called reasonable restrictions, are what other fetters can be placed on it. Now, let us question, are those fetters in place? Let us look at this case itself, in which stand-up comics have faced legal prosecution in several states. They have come to the Supreme Court asking for protection, and they have had to engage expensive legal counsel. So, are there laws already on the statute books which can result in the prosecution of comics for making any such kind of jokes which may push the boundaries of law? Or is the court getting into the domain which is a subjective, morality-based assessment of what can and should be said on the internet? The second point which I would like to raise is that when we think about guidelines, they may go beyond the force of law, but may still at the same point be enforceable as mechanisms for takedown, and may be opportunistically used against people on the internet, which may be brought to the notice of a person who is offended. Because the internet is vast, because every second person or third person today in some way has an online presence, and may then fall afoul of these guidelines as per their subjective assessment. Thereby, the dragnet will not be a clear boundary of an objective-based law. It will be the personal offense of each and every person with a smartphone in India today.
Hold your thoughts, Aniket. I think Apar makes a very important point. What is offensive and what is not offensive, it really depends on the individual, and it really depends from judge to judge.
Well, Vishnu, that's right. I mean, in our country, what all depends is the content of what you speak. And it really matters if you say something which does not, infringes upon any person's dignity, or if it is within the restraint of Article 19(2), then of course there would not be any embargo in speaking in what you've been saying. But suppose you say something which is really offending. Now you're right. What will be an offense to somebody may not be an offense to another. But then the test is, what is it that you have uttered, and from the sensibility of a common man, whether it really would be something that he would feel offended about it. So the test is that of common man, and there have been umpteen number of judgments which deal with this issue. Now the Supreme Court has said that we will have to evolve a law in order to lay down the guidelines for this social media. But let us understand that these are off-the-cuff remarks that the Honorable Supreme Court has made. The Supreme Court has not really decided the contours of all of this. So in an appropriate case, maybe the Supreme Court may have to delve into this. But today the fact remains that Article 19(1), though it gives you freedom of speech and expression, it is not an absolute right in itself.
So that by itself is what this debate is all about, to Aniket. So Radhika, as on the entire commercial aspect of it, a lot of comedians will be funny and make jokes just for the sake of making jokes and for the sake of being funny. Others charge money for it. Therefore, if you are charging money for others to listen to your jokes, do you as a comedian feel that, oops, let me think twice, because what I may do might offend the courts?
Vishnu, thanks for having me on. And, this is such a tricky thing because, I'll just give you an example, Aniket. You said, you said people who have deformities. That's actually a terrible thing to say. And I could take offense to that because it's not deformities, first of all. It is people who are differently abled. Now, you've gone ahead and used the word deformities on NDTV. Now, there could be somebody out there who takes big offense to that, as they probably should. And that gets us all into, it's not funny. It's not funny.
No, Aniket, it's not a joke. It's actually a really important point. Face it, it's at the heart of this debate.
The heart of the debate is words that we use. It's words that we use, whether we make a mistake, whether we say it thinking it'll be funny, whatever it is subjective. The point is, I might take offense to what he said because he said this, he said deformities. It is not deformities. I'm making a point here. And I'm not actually saying that he's wrong. The point I'm trying to make is that who is to make this judgment? Are they going to be trolling every single one of our Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, every single show we do, live shows? And, who decides that we're right or wrong? Who decides that I have to go now and get a lawyer to protect me from making jokes about who and about what? I'm not defending the joke that was made because, by the way, I don't even know the joke. I actually happen to have friends who have children who are differently abled. They don't even know about this. They don't even care. This country actually doesn't care about people who are differently abled. I can guarantee you that NDTV has not hired an anchor with a disability. Have they? I don't know. I can assure you that most government offices are not set up for people with disabilities to enter. Someone in a wheelchair need 3 people to get them into the Supreme Court. So what do we care? What is this about?
Aniket?
Yeah, Vishnu, first of all, what the Supreme Court meant was that you cannot crack jokes on somebody's physical ailments and make money out of it. In that context, it was said. So if I use a word and then if it is being said that because I've used that word, I fall foul of the Supreme Court judgment, that's not the way it is. Secondly, what is important is you're right. Now, who is to decide? One second, madam. Who is to decide whether it really fouls afoul of Article 21 or it is something where you cross the line? Now, therefore, the Honorable Supreme Court has said that we'll have to evolve this issue. Now, as I said earlier, the test has been the test of a reasonable man. Whether in a given position a reasonable man would feel offended by what is being said. And therefore, there have been series of judgments which is interpreted in what context, what amounts to defamation. What may amount to defamation to one may not be a defamation to another. That's how it has been. But therefore, it doesn't mean that you will get a cakewalk and you start saying anything that you wish under the garb of freedom of speech and expression. Because our constitution itself provides under Article 19.2 that reasonable restrictions could be imposed under circumstances which have been laid out under Article 19.2.
No, but Aniket, I think this entire conversation, Aniket, which we are having is basically to express our, in a sense, concern about what is defined as acceptable and not acceptable. It deeply offends all of us as educated people to see people being targeted. That can be not a joke. People are targeted all the time. But in the context of what we say and how we say it, if we have no malice towards somebody, if we crack a joke, then how does one actually, how does one resolve this? You can't have a law stating this word is acceptable and this word is not acceptable. I mean, it's crazy. So then we can keep arguing forever on this, right?
Vishnu, according to me, the Supreme Court has not proceeded as per what was before it. When certain parties approached it, which are the stand-up comics, and it stated that the cases against them were abuse of process of law, the court could have either accepted that plea, granted them liberty, or stated that the prosecution should continue because their statements constituted a breach, a prima facie breach of law, and it required more investigation. What it instead has done over a series of hearings has encouraged other parties to come before it, stating that it by itself perceives that there is a broader information disorder existing online. There are stand-up comics. There are a lot of young people who are watching those stand-up comics, and our morality as a society is being impacted by them. This is what has led to one petition being filed. And today, the court proceeding reflects that petition, in which the court has asked the government to frame guidelines regarding what content can be aired by influencers, not only stand-up comics, but influencers, and then be made applicable across all social media platforms. If you just take a step back, a few months ago, the very government was being criticized for bringing in a licensing model called the Broadcasting Bill, in which every influencer would have had to take a license and follow content guidelines. And I fear, and this, I hope I'm being pessimistic, but it is my fear that it is this voice on the internet which sometimes questions, which may also sometimes be offensive, and sometimes needs to be tolerated in a democracy, is not being tolerated and is being seen as a challenge to institutions of power, which sometimes, unfortunately, may even be the Supreme Court of India.
Radhika, is it your concern that when judges or courts decide on what is acceptable for society, and we find these judgments all the time because the law is premised on justice in the name of our society at so many levels. There is not one society in India. We are an incredibly diverse nation. There's no one set of values. I'm not being an anarchist in this by any means. I'm only merely suggesting that what I consider funny, Aniket may not, and vice versa. For example, a lot of people might find Family Guy funny. I don't know if it's actively broadcast in India, but it's easily available all over the net. It is a hit for I think a decade plus in the United States. They push boundaries of decency which no Indian cartoon, comic, TV show would do. A lot of people might find that funny because we aren't one society. We are a huge country. Therefore, is it your concern that what you find funny might end up offending somebody else?
100%. I mean, that's the whole point of freedom of speech, right? Is that how do you cherry pick what is, family friendly and what isn't? Like, who's your family and my family? We're different families. What my family finds funny is different from yours. I'm just surprised the Supreme Court isn't tired of just saying whatever they feel like, whenever they feel like. They just frightened all the dog lovers. Now they're frightening all the comics. Like, where does this end? And I'm sure I'm going to get into trouble for making a joke about that, by some people who are like very offended by it. But like, I mean, come on, this is crazy.
No, but Radhika, let's look at it from another standpoint, which we haven't done. That if jokes are being made, which seriously affect the dignity of fellow citizens, then what right do you or I have sitting over here and saying that, freedom of speech, rah, and heck with the sentiments of others? Are we not being insensitive in having this discussion?
So here's the thing. I actually believe that people who are differently abled are not depending on comedians' jokes to in any way help them flourish. I don't think that their dignity has been in any way tampered with by some stupid joke that, by the way, none of us even actually, I don't think any four of us would know the joke. I don't know the joke. That's how insignificant that joke really was. That the comedic community, most of us don't even know the joke. That's how unimportant this is. Because I know people who are differently abled. I have friends whose children are. They are not paying attention to this. They're paying attention to the fact that most of our schools in our schooling system don't have proper setup for children with disabilities. Those are the concerns. That is what leads to a lack of dignity, not some comedian's like lame joke. We are focusing on the wrong thing. And we're allowing our Supreme Court to take special, put so much attention on this. They should be putting attention on other things. I do not believe people with different abilities are actually offended by this. I think it is a group of people who actually don't have the disabilities are coming forward and making such a big deal.
Aniket, how would you respond?
No, I think it's not just about people with different abilities or spatially able people. It's about general sentiments in general that under the garb of free speech, can you really mock somebody to an extent where they become point of ridicule? Now, because these media people, these social media influencers have got large mass following, suppose they start cracking joke on somebody on a particular, section of society or whatever, on a particular kind of, mindset, and people start making fun of them. Now, that we have to also think from the other perspective. What may be my sense of humor may not necessarily be your sense of humor. But at the same time, what the Supreme Court meant, therefore, that was that we need to have some basic guidelines. How far can you really go? Because after all, we have to understand that our constitution doesn't say that the freedom of speech is absolute. The framers of our constitution, in their wisdom, thought that freedom of speech, though it is a birthright, it's a fundamental right, there has to be certain restrictions in order to have peace in the society. Otherwise, everybody will, stand up, make fun, and sit down and say, "This is my freedom of speech." And what is important is that, as I said earlier, people with different abilities was just one issue that was there before the Supreme Court. There may be many other number of issues on which jokes.
I just want to say
really,
one thing.
Just a second, Madhika, which would really hurt sentiments of others, and therefore we have to be cautious about it.
I understand that men have been making fun of women. The jokes have been on us for decades, for centuries. I don't see any men getting into trouble for this, by the way.
You should have filed a PIL in Supreme Court. You should have
gone against all the men in the world
and intervene in the Supreme Court.
That's not even, but that's my point. It is meaningless.
I think the logical conclusion to this is a race to the bottom, where all of us remain silent and smile at each other.
Or we keep filing these PILs and these FIRs, and we keep making nuisances of ourselves. These are the two options.
But much more seriously, I agree that the boundary of law needs to be touched and needs to be exceeded. But a generalized content list of grievances, or this kind of SOPs, or this kind of thing which we are thinking which it can be done for broadcasting channels will also be done by influencers or stand-up comics, will be unimplementable and will result in a large amount of chilling effect. What will we apply it against? Indian rap music? People like Hanuman kind? Will we look at all their channels? Will we look at Punjabi music? Imagine. I'm just thinking, how will this be even applicable?
Okay, Aniket, last word to you. By suggesting penalties or contributions to disability causes, could you just, legally, is that something the Supreme Court can really do?
And, Supreme Court has absolute powers, and Supreme Court has asked them, what are you willing to do? So the Supreme Court has really left the ball in their court. So they are going to voluntarily...
No, but then, Aniket, I'm asking you, I find this part of the judgment to be strange. That here is a person, he or she has committed a crime, and the court says, now you please decide your punishment. What can you do?
See, the Supreme Court has said you have really crossed that thin line, but now since you have already cracked jokes on them, you better do something good for them. And in that context, the Honorable Supreme Court has said what it has said, with all good intentions behind it. Because these guys have got lot of following over social media and otherwise, they will set a good example by doing something good for that, that class of people who are differently abled.
All right, look, if only all television debates were as civil as this, funny and serious at the same time, I think we'd be a much happier television society. But we'll leave it over there. Thank you all very much for being with us. It is a burning issue in our country. It always will be. The freedom of speech, we can't do without it. At the same time, there are limits. But what are those limits? How are those limits defined? I think that's at the heart of this controversy. We leave it there from all of us here. Good night.
Two Indian Navy frigates, state-of-the-art, being simultaneously commissioned. NDTV was there. Exclusive access. We speak to the commanders and understand why this is world-class. Made in India, the Indian Navy's cutting edge.
Nikki's father in the Greater Noida dowry death. Victim Nikki's father shares the horror of the 21st of August and demands that the monsters be hanged. The Karnataka Home Minister G. Padmeshwara's supporters organized special events named Paramotsava to felicitate the Home Minister. Is it a fresh power play in Karnataka? The Union Home Minister Amit Shah's big attack on the opposition on tainted Neta's bill. The Home Minister says the opposition is compromised even as the Prime Minister has included himself in the proposed law to sack jail ministers. A TMC MLA is arrested by the Enforcement Directorate. The MLA, Jibon Shaha, is arrested in a cash for jobs case.
Presented by Canara Bank. Together we can.
And you know, that's why it's being said that after Kaho Na Pyare, this is the film that has got two superstar debutants who are becoming superstars. But what was this faith that you had on these two that you know that shows on screen?
You know, you don't plan to make a blockbuster. You plan to make a good film. And that's what I think they never let me, you know, they didn't put that pressure on me to live up to. They never gave me a number that we have to hit or a so-called figure that I have to open to. There was all these trappings were just not there, which normally producers do end up putting that pressure. You know, then you make wrong things. Then you add a song for a shadi song, add a Punjabi song. All these trappings were not there in this film. They were like, just go there and make your film. Do this script. We love this script and make it honestly. And I think the minute that happened, a filmmaker I could just spread my wings and just go out, not worrying about a few. I think when you do that, you get a little more fearless, and then that's what got picked up by people. So I cast appropriate for the film. I didn't cast thinking. I cast what felt right.
You were saying that you are going to say no to him.
Yeah. But that's his fault. Huh? He was now you see, now that we can talk about the film, Krish Kapoor cannot be a timid, sweet boy.
Yes,
sir, how are you, sir?
Last time we spoke.
Yeah, and I was like, what is this guy? He was a sweet boy. And then by the end of the night, I could see the boisterous self, and I could see the Krish Kapoor who could stand on top and say, don't forget this name, it's Krish Kapoor. So I think I was looking for that a bit. I needed a spark of that.
NDTV 24/7 is India's #1 English news channel on YouTube. Credible, compelling, always ahead of the curve. Thank you for choosing NDTV 24/7 as your trusted source for news.
हेलो बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा.
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसे हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है.
मैडम एक बात, खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7.
Vanakkam Tamil Nadu.
Now the battle for Tamil Nadu 2026 is open now.
after Chief Minister Stalin rolls up his sleeves.
And Vijay steps in as a star challenger.
This is a mass gathering, not for cash.
Meanwhile, a former Chief Minister, Edappadi Palanisamy, begins his fight back.
The big comeback campaign by EPS has well and truly begun.
These are all the ultimate players, and this is going to be the ultimate test.
Mohit, you are known for your music. All your films, musics stay with us till today. I'm a millennial and those music are kind of music. So whenever we say Mohit Suri film aa raha hai, we know the music will be good, right? It's a given. So you really work hard. But is this always like how you create your music? You need everything in place, the mood, the lighting, even when the person is in the studio and just singing. And also, how did you select your musicians that this person's voice is perfect for this song?
That's what I think, the amount you give to a song, that's how long it will last, I think. Everyone does the programming, everyone writes the words, everyone makes the thing. But the thing is how much you give, how much of heart you give to the lyrics or to the music or to the melody or to the singing. That's how long the song will last, is what I genuinely feel. If you don't give that love, you're not going to get it back. It's just a simple debit and credit procedure, I think, with the audience. I genuinely feel I don't have any special skill. I don't know any scale or anything else. It's just that I enjoy that process a lot. Give me an evening to just go for a film party or something, I'll skip it. But you give me like a struggling musician to go who has a great tune, some new guys, chill all night with them. I can do that. I can just sit there, make music and stuff like that. We just did that recently. Fahim came down. He just surprised us, and we met in my Bandra office. And Han was there, Aneet was there, and he made me hear his other songs and stuff like that. But it was it's so much fun, because I just think making music. Film you still get to see something. I think music is so amazing. You just
don't need to see anything.
It's in the air, and suddenly it just comes together, and it's just you can just feel it. And something you hear makes you feel something. It's just magical.
Rajasthan is history, culture, and much more. And I have been reporting on all things royal for more than 25 years.
The colors, the culture, and the complexities of the Northeast is different from the rest of the country. I have been bringing the Northeast closer to the capital for over 15 years. Madhya Pradesh is the heart of India, and I have been capturing its every beat for over 10 years, covering the corridors of power, what is said, what is left unsaid, and what it actually means for you and me. I have it all covered.
Kashmir is often called paradise on earth, a region.
Hello, Moto.
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi posts on his social media, "It is a matter of great pride that today Ahmedabad is becoming a city of dreams and resolutions, which is also ready for big concerts and sports events. This is my special request to my family members across the country, including Gujarat, regarding the upcoming festivals."
गृह मंत्री जी एनआई के साथ बात करने के लिए धन्यवाद। नए विधेयक आप इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, आपने जेपीसी में भी भेजा है। 30 दिनों से ज़्यादा अगर कोई इलेक्टेड रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हिरासत में जाता है और उसे पद से हटाया जाएगा। आपने कहा कि क्लॉज ज़रूर गंभीर होने चाहिए, लेकिन इनोसेंट अंटिल प्रोवन गिल्टी, क्या इस सिद्धांत को ये उलट नहीं जाता इससे?
देखिए, सीधे सवाल से मुझे नहीं लगता कि आप बिल की स्पिरिट के साथ न्याय कर पाएगी। मैं आपके माध्यम से पूरे देश की जनता को बताना चाहता हूं कि 130वां संशोधन क्या है। 130वें संशोधन में ये संविधान संशोधन है। इसमें हमने एक प्रावधान किया है कि प्रधानमंत्री, मुख्यमंत्री, भारत सरकार के मंत्री या राज्य सरकार के मंत्री किसी भी गंभीर आरोप में अगर अरेस्ट होते हैं और 30 दिन तक उनको जमानत नहीं मिलती है तो मुख्यमंत्री या प्रधानमंत्री मंत्री के केस में उनको उनके स्थान से मुक्त करेंगे। अगर वो नहीं करते हैं तो अपने आप कानूनन वो मुक्त हो जाएंगे। ये प्रावधान 130वें संवैधानिक संशोधन में हमने किया है। अब सबसे पहले मैं स्पष्ट कर देता हूं, संसद के अंदर चुनी हुई सरकार कोई भी विधेयक लाए या संवैधानिक संशोधन लाए, इसको सदन के सामने रखने में क्या विरोध हो सकता है? जबकि मैंने स्पष्ट कर दिया था कि इसको हम दोनों सदनों की संयुक्त समिति को सौंपेंगे। वहां आप आपके विचार व्यक्त कर सकते हैं। और दूसरा, जब इस पर मतदान हो तब आप आपका मत व्यक्त कर सकते हो, क्योंकि ये संवैधानिक संशोधन है तो 2/3 बहुमत चाहिए दोनों सदनों में,
जो आपके पास नहीं है
या नहीं है वो तो उस वक्त सिद्ध होगा। परंतु उस वक्त आप अपना विचार भी रख सकते हो और वोट भी कर सकते हो। किसी भी सरकार के विधेयक को या संविधान संशोधन को सदन में पेश न होने देना और इस तरह का व्यवहार करना, ये क्या लोकतंत्र में उचित है क्या? देश की पार्लियामेंट के दोनों सदन बहस के लिए है या शोरगुल और हल्ले के लिए है? मुद्दे का विरोध हमने भी देखा है, हमने भी करा है, परंतु बिल को पेश न होने देने की एक प्रकार की मानसिकता मैं नहीं मानता हूं कि ये लोकतांत्रिक है और विपक्ष को देश की जनता के सामने इसका जवाब देना पड़ेगा।
उनका जो मैनर ऑफ प्रोटेस्ट है उसके बारे में मैं बाद में पूछूंगी, लेकिन ये जो गंभीर आरोपों का जो दायरा है, क्या आप स्पष्ट कर सकते हैं कि गंभीर आरोप क्या है?
स्पष्ट कर सकती है क्या?
हाँ, तो वही मैं आपसे
तो जरा पूछिए आरोप।
तो क्या आरोप हो सकते हैं? कैपिटल मतलब मर्डर, रेप, ऐसे वाले जो
नहीं, पहले विपक्ष का इस बिल में विरोध क्या है वो तत्वतः आप बता सकती है क्या? इसका मूल विरोध का कारण जो विपक्ष ने मीडिया को समझाया होगा, हाँ, वो आप हमें बताइए पहले।
तो वो तो कह रहे हैं कि आप इस बिल के जरिए आप जो इलेक्टेड रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है, जिनके पास मैंडेट है और जिनका जनाधार से कनेक्शन है, आप उसको उलट रहे हैं और आप 30 डेज में आप बेल नहीं मिलेगा तो वो हट जाएंगे। और ये तो इट इज लाइक पॉलिटिकल सुसाइड या पॉलिटिकल मर्डर।
देखिए, इस देश में आज एनडीए के मुख्यमंत्रियों की संख्या ज्यादा है। प्रधानमंत्री भी एनडीए के हैं, श्री नरेंद्र मोदी प्रधानमंत्री। तो ये बिल सिर्फ विपक्ष के लिए क्वेश्चन खड़ा नहीं करता, हमारे मुख्यमंत्रियों के लिए भी क्वेश्चन खड़ा करता है। मैंने जो सुना वो कह रहे कि आपके लोगों के सामने एफआईआर नहीं होती है। ये जनता को गुमराह करे। उनको मालूम है कि किसी भी व्यक्ति के खिलाफ आरोप है तो आप पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट लिटिगेशन के माध्यम से कोर्ट के सामने जा सकते हैं। कोर्ट ऑर्डर करेगी कि इनके खिलाफ एफआईआर करो। अगर ज्यादा ही गंभीर मामले हैं तो कोर्ट मॉनिटर भी करती है। इसमें पक्ष विपक्ष कहां आता है? ये एक सेकंड, मेरी बात पूरी नहीं हुई है। इसमें पक्ष विपक्ष नहीं आता है। और दूसरी बात, इसमें 30 दिन तक जमानत का प्रावधान किया गया है। अगर फर्जी टाइप का केस है तो देश की हाई कोर्ट और सुप्रीम कोर्ट आंख मूंद कर नहीं बैठे हैं। किसी भी केस में हाई कोर्ट और सुप्रीम कोर्ट को जमानत देने का अधिकार है। अगर जमानत नहीं मिलती है तो आपको पद छोड़ना पड़ेगा। मैं एएनआई के माध्यम से देश की जनता को और पूरे विपक्ष को भी पूछना चाहता हूं, क्या कोई मुख्यमंत्री, कोई प्रधानमंत्री या कोई मंत्री जेल में रहकर सरकार चला सकता है क्या? इस देश के लोकतंत्र के लिए शोभा रूप है क्या? और अगर 30 दिन के बाद जमानत मिल जाती है तो वो फिर से शपथ ले सकते हैं। हम मल्टी पार्टी पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेटिक सिस्टम में है। जब आपके पास सदन में बहुमत होता है, एक मुख्यमंत्री को किसी भी कारणसर जेल में जाना पड़ा, 30 दिन तक जमानत नहीं हुई, तो अब वो पदमुक्त हो जाएंगे, परंतु उनका बहुमत तो बना रहेगा। जैसे ही मुक्त होंगे वो फिर से मुख्यमंत्री बन सकते हैं।
ये जो गंभीर आरोप होते हैं इन लोगों के खिलाफ, वो उनको साबित करने के लिए या उनसे छुटकारा पाने के लिए इतना वक्त लग जाता है। आप जैसे जो डेमोक्रेसीज हैं, बाकी डेमोक्रेसीज हैं, वहाँ पे क्या होता है कि वो हट जाते हैं और फिर वापस लाते हैं। यहाँ पे तो जेल में डाल देते हैं।
देखिए, जेल में डालने का जो प्रावधान है वो एनडीए सरकार ने नहीं बनाया है, वो सालों से यहाँ चल रहा है। दूसरी बात कि ये जो आपने कहा कि गंभीर आरोप की व्याख्या क्या होगी, तो उसमें हमने व्याख्या कर दी है कि 5 साल से ज्यादा सजा का जहां प्रावधान है वहां पर उनको पद छोड़ना पड़ेगा। कोई छुटपुट आरोप के लिए पद नहीं छोड़ना है, मगर जिन पर करप्शन के आरोप है या 5 साल से ज्यादा सजा के आरोप है, ऐसे मंत्री, मुख्यमंत्री या प्रधानमंत्री जेल में बैठकर सरकार चलाए, ये कितना उचित है।
पर दोष के ऊपर कैसे कर सकते हैं? पहले
मैं आपको
सिद्धि तो हो जाए ना।
मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं, आज भी भारत के जनप्रतिनिधित्व कानून जो है उसके अंदर प्रावधान है कि किसी भी चुने हुए प्रतिनिधि को 2 साल या इससे अधिक समय के लिए सजा होता है तो वो अपने स्थान से मुक्त हो जाएंगे सांसद के रूप में। अब उस पर हाई कोर्ट की अपील बाकी है, इस पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट की अपील बाकी है, मगर एक मॉरल ग्राउंड तय करने के लिए कानून आजादी मिली तब से बना है। इस पर भी आर्गुमेंट होता है कि भाई वो हाई कोर्ट से छूट जाएंगे, वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट से छूट जाएंगे, क्योंकि अपील फाइनल नहीं हुई है। तो जैसे ही छूटते हैं उनकी सदस्यता रिवाइव हो जाती है। कई सारे लोगों की सदस्यता समाप्त हो गई और तुरंत रिवाइव भी हुई, ऊपर से सजा का स्टे मिलने के बाद।
पर इस दौरान उनका राजनीतिक
कुछ नहीं होता है।
होता है ना सर, सत्येंद्र जैन का देख लीजिए, उनके 4 साल कौन लौटाएगा? उनकी जो पॉलिटिकल लाइफ है वो तो खत्म हो गई ना।
नहीं, मगर 4 साल तक उनको जमानत नहीं मिला, केस अभी चालू है।
हाँ, तो पर उसके बाद सीबीआई का जो रिपोर्ट है वो कोर्ट ने एक्सेप्ट कर लिया ना।
आप भयंकर भ्रांति में हो। जिस एफआईआर में वो 4 साल जेल में रहे, वो एफआईआर में क्लोजर रिपोर्ट नहीं भरी गई। क्लोजर रिपोर्ट 2022 के केस में भरी गई। जिन 4 केसों में वो जेल में गए थे और लंबे समय तक रहे, वो 4 केसों में सीबीआई ने चार्जशीट किया है और वो ट्रायल फेस कर रहे हैं। मगर आप पार्टी के प्रोपेगेंडा का आप शिकार हो। सत्येंद्र जैन जी को जिस केसों में लंबा समय जेल में रहना पड़ा, वो सारे के सारे केसों में चार्जशीट हुआ है और वो ट्रायल फेस कर रहे हैं।
और अरविंद केजरीवाल जो थे, उनका भी ऐसे ही हुआ था, बेल मिला और फिर उसके बाद वो वापस आ गए। क्या यही होने वाला है हर नॉन बीजेपी चीफ मिनिस्टर के साथ?
तो आप मुझे एक बात का जवाब दीजिए, नॉन बीजेपी बीजेपी छोड़ दीजिए, दोनों के लिए समान कानून है, परंतु किसी ने भी जेल से सरकार चलानी चाहिए क्या? आजादी से अब तक कई सारे नेता जेल में गए, कई सारे मुख्यमंत्री भी गए, मंत्री भी गए, और सबने इस्तीफा देकर जेल में गए। अभी अभी एक ट्रेंड शुरू हुआ कि जेल में जाने के बाद भी इस्तीफा नहीं देना। ढेर सारे ऐसे लोग हैं जिन्होंने इस्तीफा दिया। तमिलनाडु के कुछ मंत्रियों ने नहीं दिया, दिल्ली के मंत्री और मुख्यमंत्री ने नहीं दिया, और सरकार के सचिव, डीजीपी, मुख्य सचिव, इनके पास आदेश लेने के लिए जेल में जाएंगे। ये क्या हमारे लोकतंत्र को दुनिया में सम्मान दिलाएगा क्या? ये मुद्दे पर चिंता, चर्चा होनी चाहिए, नहीं होनी चाहिए। और मैं आज जो कांग्रेस पार्टी इसका मुखर कर विरोध कर रही है, वो कांग्रेस पार्टी के एक स्टैंड को ही मैं कह रहा हूं। जब यूपीए की सरकार थी, श्री मनमोहन सिंह जी इनके प्रधानमंत्री थे और लालू प्रसाद यादव जी इनके मिनिस्टर थे। लालू प्रसाद जी को सजा हो गई। मनमोहन सरकार एक ऑर्डिनेंस लेकर आई कि 2 साल की सजा हो तो भी अपील का स्टेज बाकी है तो उनकी सदस्यता नहीं जाती है। यही मॉरल ग्राउंड था जो आप कोट कर रही हो। तो एक ऑर्डिनेंस लेकर आए कि हम इसको बदल दे रहे हैं। ऑर्डिनेंस से बदलने का कैबिनेट ने प्रस्ताव भी किया। यही श्री राहुल गांधी इसको कंप्लीट नॉनसेंस कहकर सार्वजनिक रूप से प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में फाड़े थे ऑर्डिनेंस को। और देश की कैबिनेट ने और देश के प्रधानमंत्री ने जो फैसला लिया था, उनकी पार्टी के ही प्रधानमंत्री ने जो फैसला लिया था, उसका मॉरल ग्राउंड पर उन्होंने मखौल उड़ाया था। और मनमोहन सिंह एक सॉरी फिगर बनकर रह गए थे पूरी विश्व के सामने। आज वही राहुल गांधी बिहार में सरकार बनाने के लिए सजा हो गई, वो लालू प्रसाद जी को गले मिल रहे हैं। ये ड्यूअल स्टैंडर्ड नहीं है क्या? ये शोभा देता है क्या? 3 चीजों से ये सारे आरोप खारिज हो जाते हैं। एक तो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने स्वयं अपने आप को इसमें डाला है। एक जमाने में कांग्रेस 39वां संविधान,
प्रधानमंत्री ने डाला है, पहले नहीं थे क्या प्रधानमंत्री?
ना, पहले तो प्रोविजन ही नहीं था।
तो जब कानून ड्राफ्ट हो रहा था तो उन्होंने खुद डाला अपना?
हाँ, खुद डाला है। पहले 39वां जो संशोधन था, इसमें इंदिरा जी उपराष्ट्रपति राष्ट्रपति के साथ साथ खुद को भी इनके खिलाफ कोई वैधता नहीं रहती है चुनावी मुकदमों का एक संविधान संशोधन लेकर आई थी। वो खैर कांग्रेस पार्टी और श्रीमती इंदिरा गांधी की नैतिकता का सवाल है। नरेंद्र मोदी जी अपने खिलाफ खुद संविधान संशोधन लेकर आए हैं कि प्रधानमंत्री भी जेल में जाएगा तो उसको इस्तीफा दे देना पड़ेगा।
पर इससे एक एक्स्ट्रा जुडिशियल पावर कह लीजिए जो भी एक अधिकारी को नहीं मिल जाता कि प्रधानमंत्री से भी ज्यादा सीनियर हो जाता है वो?
जी, आप ऐसे बात करिए जिसमें जैसे इस देश में कोई कोर्ट ही नहीं है।
पर कोर्ट में डिलेज होते हैं ना सर?
ये कानून आने के बाद नहीं होंगे, क्योंकि कोर्ट को तुरंत इंटरवीन करना पड़ेगा। किसी चुने हुए प्रतिनिधि को खारिज करने का प्रावधान हुआ है। मैं तो उल्टा कहता हूं, इससे यस और नो जो होना है वो जल्दी हो जाएगा।
तो प्रेशर कोर्ट्स पे होगा डिक्लेयर करने के लिए?
प्रेशर होगा ये कहना ठीक नहीं है। हाँ। मगर हमारी कोर्ट भी,
पर उसी
सुनिए ना, हमारी कोर्ट भी कानून की गंभीरता को समझती है। जब 30 दिन के बाद पद छोड़ना है तो वो उसके पहले इसका फैसला करेगी कि बेल मिलना चाहिए या नहीं मिलना चाहिए। हाईकोर्ट में जब केस गया कि श्री केजरीवाल जेल में है, तब उनको वहां से इस्तीफा देने चाहिए। एक पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट लिटिगेशन फाइल हुआ। हाईकोर्ट ने कहा कि हम सैद्धांतिक रूप से मानते हैं